Welcome to Test Dive, conference organized by Nokia.
Hello everyone, nice to see you here all gathered in this room. So as you've heard a moment ago, my name is Marchewka, and for this year's edition of Test Dive, I have prepared for you a presentation about Goodhart's law and the pitfalls of measuring everything. Since I have been so well introduced just a moment ago, let me skip this slide and move right to the agenda. So during today's presentation, I would like to focus on three main topics. The first one is explaining to you the basics. So why do we even need to use metrics? What are metrics for? The second part of my presentation will be focused on the Goodhart's law itself, definition, flavors, etc. And last but not least, I would like to tell you a few things about tips and tricks. So what we can do to make sure our metrics are used to measure and they are not set as a goal. Okay, hurry up, hurry up. I have already started. But you haven't missed yet much because this is just an agenda. But I don't want you to lose the fun part. Okay, so metrics. Why do we need them? I know that you are right now after lunch, so I need to wake you up a little bit. So a question. Does anyone here ever set themselves a goal? I want to be in a good shape. If you have, just now raise your hand. Okay, so this is our goal. We want to be in a good shape. So what are the next steps that will allow us to achieve this goal? We have defined our goal as I want to be in a good shape, but what does this really mean? And how we can track and measure our progress? How can we find out whether we are moving towards our goal or moving away from it? So what type of measure we can select for our goal? Remember, our goal is I want to be in a good shape. We can choose a couple of options here. Let me pick two. So we can measure a bicep size, right? In theory, if you exercise a lot, if you go to the gym, etc., your bicep will grow, and you can measure it and check if it's becoming bigger and bigger, and by that, you might find out whether you are moving towards the goal or not. Or if you prefer, you can use endurance as your metric. So let's say you are running every day, and every day you are running a little bit longer, and you can see that you can run, one day you run, I don't know, 5 kilometers, and in a month or two you can run 10 kilometers, so your endurance has grown. So you can say to yourself, okay, I am moving towards my goal, towards being in a good shape. So what have we done here? We have defined a goal, being in a good shape. We have selected a metric, whether this is a bicep size of endurance. And right now we are tracking the progress. So we are measuring the biceps, we are checking how long we can run. Done deal, right? What can possibly go wrong? Well, for starters, your bicep might grow not only if you are exercising, but also if you are eating too much. You'll just become, larger in general. So poorly selected metric will might not show you that you are moving away from the goal with our biceps growing. Okay, so this is why do we even need the metrics. Now, how about Goodhart law? How the Goodhart's law fits into all of this? This whole law was firstly formulated in an article that was criticizing monetary policy of the United Kingdom under the Thatcher's government. And at that time, it was formulated like how you can see it on the slide. So any observed statistical irregularity will tend to collapse once pressure is placed upon it for control measures. It's not pretty straightforward, and it doesn't say much, right? So over the years, this law evolved, and right now, it's been presented as here on the screen. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. This is more catchy, right? It sounds much better. But in practice, what it means. Have you ever heard of a Cobra effect? Has anyone heard this story already? Anyone? Okay, one, two, a few guys. Okay, so for you, it's a repetition, but for others, let me tell this story because this is a really good one. So the Cobra effect tells a story about a situation that really happened in real life when India was still under British governance. And the British government decided that there is too much cobras in India, that the cobras are dangerous, they are causing deaths, so they decided to get rid of it. So the goal that they have set to themselves, limit number of cobras, pretty straightforward goals. We want to have less snakes. It's a good goal, right? And they decided that the best metric for it would be the number of killed cobras. So what they did was they proposed to each and every citizen of India, if you will bring me that cobra, I will pay you money. And they measured how many cobras were dead, so they said, okay, we have a lot of dead cobras, it means the cobra infestation is getting smaller and we have less cobras around. The point is that Indian people are smart. And they said to themselves, okay, so I really don't want to go to the forest and catch wild cobras. Instead, I will make a cobra farm. So every time I need some money, I'll go to my cobra farm, I'll pick a few cobras, bring them to government, and I get paid. Well, this is what happened. At some point, the government decided that, hey, something's not right here, and they found out about those cobra farms. And they stopped paying for that cobras. So then what happened? Obviously, the farmers released the cobras to the forest because, why do I keep the cobras if I don't need them anymore? So instead of decreasing the population of cobras in India, by using bad metric, the government caused the cobra infestation to become even a bigger problem. So this is like a quintessence of a Goodhart's law. I have one more example that is also a real-life example, but maybe a little bit closer to the tester's world. So, how management really likes to improve efficiency, improve test team efficiency, improve overall efficiency. So we want to improve test efficiency, we want to do more with less, etc., etc. In order to check if we are progressing, right, we need some kind of a metric. So what was the metric? So the goal, increase the team efficiency, and one of the metrics that was selected was number of run test cases. Okay, that seems fair, right? The more test cases the team can run, the more efficient it is. Right? Mike, does it sound right? No. Oh no, you're spoiling my story. Come on, say yes. So if someone has been in the world of tests long enough, they know that this is not a good idea. But what happened? The testers are also smart, just like Indians. And they thought, okay, I really don't have enough time or capacity to run those additional tests, so let me take my long tests and divide them into smaller. So I will have like 5 tests instead of 1, but the metric will be green, right? So what was the outcome of it all, right? That the test teams had more tests and the metrics were green, But actually the testing became less efficient because they had to spend more time on maintaining multiple test cases. So again, poorly chosen metric caused the team to stray further and further away from the real goal, which was improving test efficiency. So remember, none of the measurements that we are using, whether in real life or in a company, none of this is perfect. You cannot select the perfect metric that will always work. So you need to remember that the metrics are flawed, and we need to pay attention to those flaws to make sure that you do not grow the population of cobra. Goodhart law, as it was stated, has 4 flavors. So to make it a little bit more close to the real life, let's select our goal that we will be trying to reach throughout the course of this presentation. So a very good goal, fast product delivery to the customer. This is perfect goal, right? The company wants to deliver the product to the customer as fast as possible with, of course, a decent quality, right? So fast product delivery to the customer is something that you can see as a goal in many, many teams, many departments, many companies. Here are the 4 flavors of Goodhart's law that you can fall into when selecting a metric to reach your goal. So there's a regressive, extremal, causal, and adversarial. Let's start with a regressive. Regressive Goodhart's law is also called imperfect correlation. So it's like a basketball team, right? So in general, higher players are more efficient and get more points in the basketball team, right? So you see, usually the teams consist of higher players. But if we would like to set up a team that has only high players and would optimize only for the height, I doubt that our team would be working well. Why? Because there are other factors except the height that impact overall team performance, overall basketball team performance, like, ability to run fast or good coordination. So as I said, the metric is never 100% correlated with a goal. When we translate it to our goal, fast delivery to the customer, let's say that our metric, that our proxy that we selected to check if we are moving towards the goal is high automation test ratio. This is also a true story, and some people sitting here in this audience, they remember high automation test ratio metric. So let's say we decided, hey, let's automate everything. High automation test ratio, it makes sense, kinda, right? Because the more automated tests you have, the faster you can run first feature testing and then regression testing, the better coverage, less effort, etc., etc., etc. But also again, since high automation ratio is not perfectly correlated with fast delivery to the customer, selecting that kind of a metric can cause a side effect. Increased automation effort. I think everyone here in this audience knows that some tests are super difficult to automate, and the return on investment is not good enough for those tests, so they should be left manual. But if our metric is high automation test ratio, and we will push to have 100% of automated test cases, our effort will grow and our capacity will go down, which will again move us away from the goal fast delivery to the customer. Another flavor of the Goodhart's law is extremal Goodhart, which is correlation in normal circumstances. In this example, when circumstances are normal, the metric and the goal are correlated. But in extreme circumstances, they stop being correlated with each other. A good example here is sugar consumption, or maybe carbohydrates consumption. when, long time ago, when we were still running and chasing animals and, living in the caves, the more carbohydrates, the more sugar you consumed, the better your health was, because the sugar provided you with the proper amount of energy, right? So at that time, you could say that the health is correlated with carbohydrates consumption, because they were hard to get, because you had to spend time and effort to get them. But now, when we don't need to hunt anymore, the correlation between sugar and health disappeared, right? Right now, it's rather the more sugar you consume, the more carbohydrates you consume, the worse your health is. And again, if we translate it to the world of testing, we can select our metric to be number of regression test cases. Again, the more regression test cases we have, the bigger coverage we have, the faster and more detailed feedback to the development teams we can provide, right? So we should be able to deliver better quality product faster to the customer, right? Wrong. Huge regression, almost impossible to maintain. This is what we get if we set our metric to be number of regression test cases without, taking anything else into account. So we would end up with thousands and thousands of test cases that we are running on repetition, and there is no time for anything else. There is no time for new features. So again, we are not delivering product to the customer faster. We are slowing it down. The next flavor, this is the third one. This is adversarial Goodhart law. This is called perverse incentive. This is the first example of a perverse incentive is this case with the cobras. But there are others. For example, in the medical field, there is Medicaid in the United States, right? So the doctors that are within this Medicaid, they are reimbursed more for more expensive medication. So if they prescribe a patient something that is more expensive, a drug that costs more, they will get more money for themselves. So they have a perverse incentive. Instead of treating a patient with a proper and cheaper drug, to give him or her something more expensive and to get more money. And again, perverse incentive has two options when it comes to the real world. So first, in order to achieve, to gain something, and for example, show the metric green, fulfill a yearly goal or whatever, people can fake the data. So the metric works right, but this metric is fed with a wrong data. Or they can fake the metric. So the metric is set in a specific way. For example, we say, okay, we have a metric, but we exclude this, and we exclude that, and we exclude that, and in the end, we look very good. So we can fake the data that we are feeding the metric, or fake the metric. So yet another example, what we can do if we want to make a fast delivery to the customer. We can set our target for pass ratio of new feature test cases. So we want the test cases, so we want the software quality to be so good that the tests we run are passing very fast, with some maybe minor updates, but they are passing. So this also seems like a good metric, right? Because we have high software quality, we can deliver product faster to the customer. But this might end up in testers not noticing bugs with lower production rate, because there is a pressure. You need to have first execution pass rate at a higher level, or you need to fix the bugs as soon as possible to make the test case green. So testers tend to not notice some of the bugs that do not appear too often. So what we end up with? We end up with a product that has a lot of bugs that are low occurrence, but even if something is low occurrence in a real life, in a testing team, when the product gets delivered to the customer, usually a customer finds all of them. So again, by selecting improper metric, we moved away from the goal. And the last, but not least, Goodhart's law is correlation, not causation. This is a funny one. So in such case, we are selecting the metric that is not correlated with the goal. It just appears to be correlated. So the funny example is ice cream and sunglasses. Usually, when you are buying more ice cream, when people are buying more ice cream, they are also buying more sunglasses. But they are not correlated with each other. It doesn't mean that if you keep buying more sunglasses in the winter, the people will keep buying ice cream for some reason, right? Those are just correlated with the summer. And now, to wake you up again, I have a contest because I was not able to find a real-life example of this Goodhart, of this, to remind you, causal Goodhart, correlation, not causation. If you are able to find a real-life example from your team, department, company, or I don't know, anywhere, if you are able to provide me right now, let's say, a good example, very quick, I have a reward for you. Is there anyone who would like to give me an example of a Goodhart's law that is correlation, not causation? So selected metric is not correlated with a goal. Anyone?
Yeah, I think I have one. It was a correlation between people that wear helmets and have accidents during riding the bikes. There is a study that shows that people that wearing helmets has more accidents on bikes, but in the end it appears it's they're only living those accidents, but if they didn't have the helmets, they probably died. So there was the correlation that wasn't true, to be honest.
Okay, very good. So the first prize goes to, I cannot see you, so I don't know who you are, but the prize goes to you. The prize, there will be a book that you can pick up here at the table after the presentation. Anyone else would like to? Okay, we have one here.
I think that in IT and in the testing process, it could be DME, defect management efficiency, kind of this. And sometimes, like, it means if we have 100% of defects, it's good. Like, it means that all defects we find, we fix them, etc. If percentage is higher, that it's bad, and if it's lower, it's also bad. But on practice, it means that defects can be reported like a story or other kind of issues.
Okay, thank you. So we have a second one, and I have one more book. Oh, there, over there.
So maybe that's the example also from our branch. I think it's a classy one. So the more defects we find, the better. So when the company, and it's actually a release story, set a goal of finding more bugs, the better the quality should be. So, as you said, the testers are very smart animals, so they find a way to reproduce the same bug in many, many ways. So, at the end, the outcome was pretty good, as the developers could see many ways of reproduction of the same bug. So, in terms of that, efficiency was high, but developers weren't very satisfied with that idea.
Okay. Okay, so the third person, you can also go there for your prize. Okay. So how to fix it? This is the last part of my presentation. So there are certain ways to counter effect the issues that we have with the Goodhart law. So, for example, for regressive Goodhart, you remember the regressive Goodhart when metric is not perfectly correlated with a goal, right? The basketball team. So for this Goodhart, we can use a principle of pairing indicators. This is a method when we pair two metrics together, and each metric is impacting the other one. For example, here we have high automation ratio, right? So we want to have many test cases automated. But at the same time, we measure and we track automation effort. And we also don't want this effort to be high. So we are kind of balancing, right? We are not allowing any of those metrics to be to grow too much. For extremal Goodhart, again, you remember, it's good in a normal circumstances, but in extremal circumstances, it goes sideways. So for this one, we should select authentic metrics. For example, instead of number of regression test cases, we should select more authentic metric that is really improving the coverage, which is % of requirements covered in regression. So we are looking for quality, not quantity. Adversarial Goodhart, so, cobras and stuff. There is a technique that's called pre-mortem. So when we are discussing what metrics we should use for a project, we are sitting down with a group of people and thinking, okay, we introduced this metric and something went wrong. What happened? And I can assure you that in this group there will be people that will say, okay, we did this and that because we wanted to achieve this and that. So this metric needs to be changed or another metric needs to be added. So that kind of thinking before what the metric can mess up with will help. Okay. For the managers, if you just want to measure something and we don't want this metric to impact the goal or impact the people's behavior, you can create a metric that you will only use to check stuff, but you are not revealing it, so the people don't have any incentive on impacting it. They will just do as they are doing, and you can measure if you are going into the right direction. And there are also long-term improvements that should help for all of the Goodhart's law and for all of the issues that I have been presenting to you today. But first, make people aware of perverse incentive. Explain to them what does it mean, right? That we are not optimizing for the metric. We should not be targeting the metric. We should be targeting the goal that's behind it. And the perverse incentive should not happen. Promote the mindset of doing the right thing. So when you are giving people project to do and you are setting the metrics, you just need to tell them, hey, we want to achieve a goal. This is just a measure. Please, please, please do not prioritize this measure. Prioritize the goal. And this is also for all of the managers and leaders and team leaders that are here in this call. Make sure that the employees have time to do the right thing. Because if we are pushing, if we are putting, we need to be green, the metric needs to be green, we need to achieve this and that, then for sure people, having not enough time to do the right thing, they will focus on the metric. And this is not what we want. So we need to make sure that people are not under big pressure and they have time to do the right thing, to do the things right. So, if you have not listened, if you don't remember anything, just remember this one. Metric is not a goal. Metric is just showing us if we are moving towards the goal or away from it. But metric should never be set as a target. And that's all from my side. Thank you for listening. Okay, so I'm guessing it's time for questions.
Yes, and also there's one extra book to be won. Same rules as previously. Eva will pick the most interesting questions, so be creative.
Hello, I'm Jakub, and I personally feel that I struggle with the problem you discussed about in my daily project life. And one of the problem I struggled with was that tons of features were introduced to master branch at the particular code complete date, and I raised the problem. But all the managers were quite big project, said it's not a problem, it's not happening, and it's a lie. Okay, so I bring up the metrics, the pull request merged per day and total pull request merged to the master for the particular release, and it was something like exponential into the sky, closer to the code complete the more we merge. So it was it illustrates the problem. And what happened? The teams, the different managers said that it's not our pull request, it's another part of the project pull request. Okay, so we divided it by the team, and it shows that every team merged more pull requests the closer the code complete date we are. So what happened? The people started to merge the few pull requests into the one pull request and then merge it to the master to make the metric green. So that was the exact solution to the problem. And my point is, there was only option to solve it, was to keep the metric secret. But if I keep the metric secret, I cannot use the metric to convince someone for something. Okay, so I can use the metric once to show the problem, and I will never know if the problem was solved or not, because I have to find another metric and keep the new metric secret.
Okay.
And you show the keeping it secret as one of the solution, but I think the other, it works. I have to agree with that. But the other solutions is just making the metric bed a bit more complicated. If we introduce multiple metrics, manipulating the multiple metrics is a bit harder, but we still can manipulate it. So was the last few points the only ways to solve the problem, or just the examples how to solve the problem? Because and at the end, the only thing is the people goodwill to keep the metrics health. And
exactly.
I have
I don't need to answer your question anymore.
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
So yeah, so the question is, are those only the examples how to tackle the problem, or do the humanity knows another ways to solve this particular problem?
Okay, so those were just the examples. There are more metrics, there are more tools to make a better metric, but in the end, everything boils down to the mindset. Because, you know, we are smart people, and IT companies have super smart people. So if they want, they will find a way to mess with the metric in one way or another. If you will, you know, check if they are not faking it in this way, they will find another more amazing way to mess with the metric. So in the end, everything boils down to whether the management understands that the metric is showing a real problem. If they truly believe that the having multiple huge content in one day is a problem, until they understand, accept it, and will try to fight it, even if you have the best metric in the world, nothing will help. So the first managers should understand and accept it, and then they need to hold their team members accountable, not to fake the metric, but do the right thing. So yeah, the fully proof metric that is proof to anything does not exist, and there are no techniques that will eliminate this human factor at all.
Okay, so in the end, it's goodwill of
It's
people
goodwill.
working with us, or we should say the good heart in this particular case. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay,
Here. Oh, sorry.
I like the example about fixing the metrics. So the bad metric was like say 80% of automation, and the better metric was pairing it with effort. But how would you formulate the new metric? So 80% of automation, and what about effort?
So I'm a big fan of return on investment. So I would, before selecting the test cases that should be automated for a given feature, for example, I would run calculation. So how many times am I planning to run this test case? If I'm planning to run it 2 times, well, that maybe it's not a good idea to automate it. Then is this test case time consuming, and running it manually takes a lot of effort? If yes, then probably this is a good candidate to automate. Then I'm also checking whether there is a lot of investment in automating this test case. For example, this is a very complicated test to automate. It requires separate equipment that has a big price or anything like this. So running that kind of analysis and calculating the effort for automating, let's say 80% versus effort for automating 60%, and then return on investment. I think this is the best way. I wouldn't set like a straight target.
Sorry to interrupt. I mean, this is me. So return on investment, do you calculate this in dollars or in hours?
In hours.
Okay.
In hours. I think that's the best way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's really hard to see when the lights are in my face. So.
Thank you. My question is, how can we control the pressure that comes even higher than the management? Because of course we have this first line, which is us as an employee and our employer, but they have this kind of much higher and much more complex pressure, of course, from the client. And how do we handle, and how do we, let's say, how can we tell the client to be a good person?
Okay, so I'm a director, so I'm a manager of managers, so I'm like a second line. So I'm getting, again, some pressure from the higher ups and from the customer. So my job is to make my team as comfortable as possible to do the right thing. My job is to defend them. My job is to say, no, this is too much, that my team is not able to do that. Let's find another way. So, how to put it nicely? The higher management needs to understand what you need to fulfill your work. And you as a manager and your manager should shield the engineers from all the pressure so that they can focus on doing actually a job instead of painting the metrics green. In an ideal organization, it should work like this, that the product management team is working with the customer. They are preparing a schedule for delivering some features, and then this schedule is discussed with the R&D team, and R&D team says what they can or they cannot do, and they commit, and the customer everything is agreed with the customer, right? So, but yeah, we all know that it doesn't work like that. So from my perspective, it's manager's job to shield the engineers, to make sure that they can work on technical stuff without much pressure. Anyone else?
It's me.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Maria, and
okay.
Thank you, Eva, for a really great user-friendly presentation. Let's assume that you are a test manager of, I don't know, maybe 3 different testing teams, and you would like to have a metrics that could help you to compare the productiveness, the efficiency of those 2-3 teams. what metrics would you select and why?
That's a difficult one. Because, usually in an organization we have some metrics that are given to us that we need to follow, right? But the insight metrics, I would definitely select a lot metrics. And I would not, let's say, make them too much visible to the teams. They could also always see them. They could also check them, but those would be for me. I would probably check the number of bug reports that the team is providing. But this would be, for example, counter-affected with the metric how big development was in a feature which those teams were testing. Not to, see that I'm checking the pronto numbers, but at the same time, some test teams are getting more difficult features with more bugs, and some teams are getting less difficult feature with less bugs. So I don't think that I have my favorite metric. I would work with few metrics that are checking each other, right? Something like that. Okay, here we have someone and I can see him.
Hello, Eva. Thank you. This is Özgür speaking. So my question is about how to measure test team efficiency and the test team success. Because imagine a situation that when we join the project at the first time, if you're working in the chaotic situation, we could find a lot of bugs. But later on, after passing some time, that test team increasing their confidence, we are cooperating more with development teams, and we are catching many issues and preventing many of them in the early stage. So that's the reason our counting bugs like getting dropped.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So then, how we can measure our success? Because it's getting at the saturation point. So are we doing something good or bad? So how we can understand?
Okay. So for example, if the metric with the bug numbers doesn't work anymore because, as you know, the team is more confident and is finding all at the same bugs, then I would then measure, this is an ultimate metric, the number of bugs reported by the customer. So if a team is doing a feature, or is working on a certain product, and then this product gets delivered to the customer, and customer finds bugs, it means that the test team did something wrong. So you can measure. This is like ultimate metric, how happy customer is with what we delivered. But unfortunately, and this is a drawback of this metric, it takes a long time before you get feedback, because you're doing a feature and the customer gets it in a year or two. So. But in the end, if you have a stable team, then it's good to check it like this.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have time for one more?
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. Quite, close to my job. How to convince executive management to not put metrics into annual goals, like improve DORA metrics 50% this year.
Show them my slides.
But,
no, but really, it's hard to convince management because metrics is their life. They know metrics, they understand metrics, they read metrics, they create metrics. And to be honest, in a big organization, you cannot live without metrics. If you have 10,000 people, well, you cannot manage them by meeting them, right? You need to look at some charts. But if you have any way to discuss with your management, just show them real life example of what a bad metric can do. We selected this metric, let's say half a year ago, and now we are here and we have, let's say, more bugs from the customer. That means this metric is wrongly created. So I would like to propose a few metrics, not set them as a goal, and make sure that the team is understanding that the metrics are not our goals. The goal is to deliver product to the customer. I know it might be difficult, but I think that if you keep repeating it and showing examples, it might help.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the questions. Now the hard job.
Now the hard part. But here he was a person that was here, over here. Yes, you are getting the. Oh, you got a prize already. Okay, so no more prize for you. Sorry then.
What an honest man.
Wait. We had someone there on the back. Yeah, over there. So you won the prize. You are the winner.
Congratulations. You can collect your book here at the table once the presentation is over. Thank you very much, Eva. That was...
Thank you.